we'll take our keynote speech. And our keynote speaker for today will be diving into leveraging geospatial technology for economic growth and innovation. He will surely do justice to that topic, and I'm sure we all are very set for him. But before he comes, let me quickly say that Surveyor Adebomehin, who served as director in several departments in the Office of Surveyor General of the Federation until he took over the baton of leadership, was the director of internal boundaries. It's good to establish that the gentleman who is about to come to the microphone is a consummate, fascinating, inspirational, innovative, dedicated, and responsible, well-experienced professional whose experience has been spanning for over 30 years in this field. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, he was appointed by President Muhammadu Buhari, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who handed over to our new president. And from that time till now, he has been doing well in the office of the Surveyor General of the Federation. Let me, with all due respect, welcome to the microphone our keynote speaker for today, a man that we're all set to receive wisdom from, not just from what he has read, but from what he has experienced, what he has done, and areas and fields that he has delivered perfectly on. I'd like to, with all due respect, invite to the microphone Surveyor General of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, very senior surveyor, Abdulgani Adeyemi Adebomehin. Please can we put our hands together for Surveyor General of the Federation as he comes to the microphone for keynote address. I'm still wondering why you are not clapping for our Surveyor General of the Federation. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Well, let me first of all appreciate our visitors from outside the country, most especially my sister from Ghana, my brother from Dubai, the man in charge of Esri. Esri has been a long-standing friend before even some of us joined service. I came to come in contact with Esri, I think that was 2007. And Esri is over 50 years now, which is a great plus. My president, the president of NIS, a great association, Dr. Olomolatan, you are welcome. I want to say we are all very, very important, and I want to appreciate you because Esri on his own, Esri America, Esri Africa, Esri everywhere started the same way. And it's a good thing we are taking a clue from them. And let's see what we can use geospatial information to do in West Africa. Yesterday, we were trying to look at the bill about NGDI so that we will take a clue from others who have achieved so much about NGDI. That is leveraging on what you can do with geospatial data information to see how you can better people's life. So I want to say a big welcome to everybody. I want to appreciate you for taking time out to be here. Now, to the topic of the day, what can you use geospatial technology to do when you talk about economic development? In it, first, we'll look at what is development in itself. So when you want to talk about development, you are not talking about anything other than how are you going to put in some infrastructure, some things that adequately can work on you, can really revive who you are. A case in question is when you want to look at where do we have roads, where do you want to put the roads? You have the clusters of roads, like in Abuja now. When you are coming in for the first time into Abuja, you say Abuja is well planned. Planning Abuja very well. Why didn't we plan other cities that way? How can we look at it and now say that there's need for us to have a rail that will move all the way from, let's say from Lagos to, to Calabar now, the one that is coming all the way from Sokoto to Lagos. So we'll try to see how to look at the challenges of why these are not happening. Then we try to look at the agricultural sector. We try to look at the urban and the regional planning. But when you want to understand the economy, so we'll say that economic development involves improved quality of life. So that is why we are saying that when you are looking at economic development, when you want to look at the quality of life, increased productivity, creating jobs, and ensuring environmental sustainability. In all these that we have mentioned, the only best way to do it so that there will not be the reason for you to repeating the same thing over and over is when you apply geospatial data information. So again, geospatial technology is very critical to our economy in the development and looking up to Agenda 2030, which is one of the sustainable development goals. However, we need to be up and doing. We need to look at geospatial data information and make the best use of geospatial data information. So when you look at geospatial technology vis-a-vis economic development, what are we talking about? We are talking about infrastructural planning and development. We are talking about environmental and disaster management. We are talking about agriculture and food security. We are talking about natural resources management. We talk about security and crime management. We could talk about business and financing. It may interest you. The first time I attended Esri meeting in San Diego, and when we saw Esri in accounting, Esri in budgeting, I was wondering, and I said I will go there to go and get more knowledge. I was surprised that we can use geospatial information to solve problems in accounting, using geospatial information to solve problems in auditing, because these are real areas that you will see people will talk about information in solving problems in those areas. If you are telling me that about solving problems on the surface of the earth, about our environment, you don't need to tell me anything about that, because that is our field. That is what we belong in. That is the geo we are talking about. But now using geospatial information to solve problems in agriculture, using geospatial information to solve problems in what's it called, auditing, I had to go and learn that. And I was not disappointed when I went to those places. Now, what are the key geospatial technologies and support economic development? Then when we talk about this, you talk about surveying and mapping. And surveying and mapping is at the top of it all, because you need to know what you have, you need to keep that what you have, and you need to now come back, process that data, and use it as information for others to really benefit from it. We have three things we are talking about here. Looking at your environment, what do you have? What are those things that keeps you going? And do you really understand the environment? So we talk about surveying and mapping. When we talk about surveying and mapping, then we now talk about how do you keep those information for you to use it at a later day as information to solve problems. So that's why we say we look at surveying and mapping as a tool. And we have so many of these now. We have GNSS, we have the total station, we have the LiDAR for land measurement, infrastructural planning, and urban development. And we have remote sensing. Remote sensing is nothing other than getting the same information without coming in contact with the Earth's surface. And a lot has been done now with remote sensing. We use it for monitoring environmental changes. We use it in land use changes. We use it to track deforestation and assess crop health. At least there are information you can pick now looking at it, and then you can really say that, okay, this land is good for this, it's not good for this. You can determine the type of crops you can put there. You can determine what is the health of that crop. Looking at the photosynthesis of the leaf itself, then you can really say that, okay, this is a problem that is happening. If you may decide to go further, pick some soil sample and then do some justice to all this. We can use GIS. When you talk about GIS, then you can say that you want to analyze, you want to do disaster response. If there's a problem, let's assume, God forbid, if anything happened now, we are at the exit. So that is one of the power of GIS. And if there's a problem in a particular street, let's assume there's a robbery attack now, you can send response, you can send information to those who are in the control room and tell them that something has just happened at a particular point. Where are the areas to be controlled of? So these are some of the power of GIS. And these are some of the power of geospatial that we can use to solve problems. So you can use a drone. A drone that could be very fast, but in some instances, just like a remote sensing, you pick both information that you will need and those ones that you do not need. It is now time for you to go back home and try to weed out those unwanted information. Then of it all is the geodatabase. Because when you have all this information and you don't have where to store the information, there's a mismatch. And that's one of the problems we have. Sometimes we don't really know the difference between the data itself and the information. There's need for us to have data. There's need for us to keep those data. There's need for us to further process the data to be used as information for the benefit of humanity. So these are two key areas that normally and most time we mix together. You have the data, you keep those data, you process the data, and you now use it as information. And the more you keep those data, the better for you. Let's assume you ask for an information from our office now, and we just acquired it yesterday. We can decide to sell it to you for, let's say, ₦1. The more we keep the data, and we keep those process information, and you ask for it tomorrow, then it means that person who is going to give you that information, we need to go through some process to sieve out that from wherever it was kept. Then it's not going to be ₦1 again. Then we can say ₦10. Because that is what we are doing now, trying to convert all what we have in our Lagos archive, all what we have in Kaduna, all what we have in Benue, all what we have in Enugu. We started the process of converting them to digital format so that at the click of the button, we can give you results and not asking somebody to go into the archive to go and bring those data again. And these are the power of geospatial information that we can use for development of humanity. A few success stories around the world. In Ghana, in Cameroon, they use this and successfully use it. Sorry, I didn't come with any of these map to support all this because we were with the budget and planning people yesterday, and I think it's more important. If you are not there when they are sharing the cake and you are coming at a later day, they will tell you that, well, maybe if you can get the remnant, it's better for you. But as far as they are concerned, they finish sharing the cake. So no matter the geospatial information you are telling them, all they know is that we are talking about business, we are talking about sharing of the cake, and we are finished sharing the cake. So I had to go and do justice to that, even though we'll be going back again today to see how they can assist us so that we can remap this country and we can make use of the information we have. So some of the success stories around the world are part of the forest resource management, using satellite imagery in monitoring, and illegal logging prevention. This is another area where some of us who are worthy, we now go into the forest themselves. Even when they say this log, they are keeping them for a particular day. But because nobody is really monitoring, then you see them going into the forest, weeding all this out. But with proper data information and proper geospatial information about the movement in the forest. Even though you are not the one in charge, you can give information to those who are in charge and ask them or tell them that you are seeing some movement and there may be the need for further monitoring or further analysis on this thing. Nigeria and Netherlands, we have used flood risk management. One happened in Maiduguri yesterday, where the whole area was flooded. I want to believe that sometimes when you give information, people look at it as if, why are you telling us this? Because they never believe that what you are saying is very true. A case in question, we went into one of our departments where we have some information that gives weather information. We were to send off one of our staff, and I said, from what they are posting on our website, I think it's best for us to try to see, to round up the whole team by 4. Unfortunately, the man in charge is even the one monitoring the weather station. When I told him it will rain by 4, according to what you said, he said, no, we have to pray, it will not rain. Unfortunately, by 4:02, it started, and it rained heavily that we all have to run away from our desk. So we were lucky. After about an hour, we had to come back so that we will not waste the food we have prepared. If not, if all of us decide to run away, then there will be nobody to take the food. So we decided to wait until when the rain stopped for us to return back so that we can have our food. So what we are saying is that geospatial information, they are very apt. And when we give this information, there's need for us to adhere strictly to it. If it now turn around that nature play is part on us, we can now listen to that. But when we give information and you feel, well, maybe you can pray, and we have so many prayer warriors who did pray day before yesterday, but the power of information still prevail. So I want us to take all this very seriously so that when you look at Australia, you see that every time they always have bush burning, bushfire everywhere. But they have devised a means where they will use geospatial information to know the area in question. And you see an helicopter or an helipad going to drop what they can use to extinguish that. So the key application of geospatial technology in Nigeria, in summary, we have to look at the agriculture. What can we use this to solve? That is the land use, land planning, land use, land prediction, crop monitoring. What about about yields that can come from a particular crop? This is an area I am still trying to see how we can research into, so that on the globe, we should be able to say that, okay, what we have on this much of acres of land, and looking at the health of the crops around there, we should be able to have this much of yield. That's an area that I've challenged a lot of people. But what a lot of people have been able to tell us is to say, okay, as at this stage, they can only tell us what to plant in a particular area. They have not, or we have not been able to go further to look at a particular crop or a particular set of that feed and now predict whatever is going to come out of that. What is the benefit of this? We'll be able to improve food security and increase productivity. When you talk about infrastructure, then we'll talk about transportation network analysis, land use planning, right-of-way mapping. This is another important area because of late, you just see us because we want to do a quick takeaway. Even when you give us the building line and say this is the building line, we'll decide to go away from the building line so that we'll be very close to the shoulder of the road. Should in case anybody wants to buy anything, we quickly hand it over. There are two things we are risking. It's extremely very dangerous because the shoulder was meant for a lot of purposes. One is when you are trying to move cables. That is when you are trying to move cables like MTN, what's it called? all these service provider, so that they will have a kind of a passage that can protect that cable. I have seen a place where somebody was digging and suddenly they dug and hit a high tension cable. Actually, he lost his life that day. These are some of the reasons why you leave the shoulder. But because we want to quickly hand over whatever we want to hand over in terms of sales, we see people clustering using the right of way. I was involved in one when they are constructing Abuja KV. Luckily, they asked us to carry it out. We used the drone to do that. But unfortunately, after about, let me say, 2 months, they returned back to the shoulder. And of late, what you will gain from the shoulder of the road, the government itself have not lived up to its responsibility. The shoulder, what's it called? The right of way, and what is that strip, it's not meant to be free. Like if you have a filling station, you are constructing a filling station, and you want to use that right of way, you are supposed to pay for it annually. But because nobody is looking into that, everybody just believes that the right of way is meant for everybody. And you see us using the right of way. But there's need for us to map all the right of way and make meaningful use of the right of way. Construction management, what is the effect of this? Yes, we have it here. Efficient resource allocation, improve connectivity, and reduce development cost. And that is talking about the right of way. Urban planning is another sector and one of the key applications of geospatial technology. And you talk about population density when you are looking at the way, or you can carry out an analysis of how or in which direction the city is developing, so that there's need for you to go and put in some infrastructures to wait or be ahead of the development in that region. I'm very sorry, in Nigeria, we just decide and we take a particular direction and we start developing in that area. And then we'll come back to tell the government we don't have water, we don't have electricity. That's one of the power of geospatial information. So when you have that, you talk about sustainable urban development, reduce congestion, so that if it is well planned, then we can come back to look at whatever we have and decided on your own to checkmate the development in a particular direction and move it in the other direction. If you are staying in Abuja, you will just see that CGG has just been awarded contract to now take water, that is pipe-borne water, to the estate. And that's one of the things where you still see some of these Mebaro pushing all these carts, trying to sell water, because we didn't use geospatial information to really develop and plan the city. Even though you will tell me Abuja is well planned when it comes to road infrastructure, but yet we still have some lacuna that we need to catch up upon. Then when you talk about disaster management, hazard mapping. When you talk about hazard mapping, if there's going to be a problem, like if we decide to take the call, then you should be able to predict when there's going to be a problem. I used to say that the call is not meant basically for geodesy. It's meant to tell us the information, give us information about the underground facilities, so that looking at the celestial body under the head surface, what is going to happen to them. We have one in the office that can predict up to about 40 kilometers. So these are some of the applications that we have geospatial information. So we have here looking at the priorities. Are we supposed to have our priorities? To effectively leverage geospatial information for economic development, our efforts must be aligned with the development priority of each of our country or region. And we have food security. I think that's something that is very important. We didn't do a lot, and we decided to leave this to, let me say, those, I would say they are the downtrodden, and we were heavily hit when they decided to make a basket of tomato, it went as high as 100,000 naira per basket. And I know our mothers in the house, they so much felt it that they even have to devise a means using the garden egg to now use it as tomato. Though it's not palatable to some of us that like to take tomato, we did complain about it, but they don't have any option. If you buy a basket of tomato for 100,000 naira, what are you going to tell me? If I'm going to be the person that will drop the money, of course I will have to complain. So whether the garden egg was palatable or it was sweet or not sweet, we just have to do so that we keep the body and the soul together. So we have to look at the food security, then the poverty alleviation. Under poverty alleviation, we look at the digital cadastral database. Because if you have a good, robust digital cadastral database, then it's easier for you to plan. Right from the table, right from your desk, you can plan and decide what type of amenities, what type of infrastructure do you take to a particular area, and not going physically or sending some people to go physically to know what is where. Another one is the survey of all land, so that if you have anything or a parcel of land, a layout, you can see directly from your desk and you know how to align the land use planning for alleviation of poverty. Economic growth. Economic growth is one key area. You can't use whatever you have. Like most of the governors, I'm sorry to say, don't even know what they have. You are talking about generation, increasing your IGR, and you don't know that the first thing is to go and look at what do you have. Even when you are looking at those areas that are not well organized, why not go to those areas that are well organized and decide to take, even if it's going to be 2 naira per month, you just go. You tell whoever is in charge of your task and tell them that I know, because I can't use the power of Geospatial to know that in this area we have this much of building. Looking at it, let's assume each of the owner of those buildings gives 5 naira. So if you have 5,000 of them, all you just need to do is to do a simple arithmetic and tell them that from my Tama, at least I'm expected to have this at the end of the year. From Mabushi area, this we say, but we leave all these, and all we are all interested in is that comes from crude oil. This is another money spinning area that I want us to leverage upon. Generation of financial and an economic map to inform investors. We need to have an economic map that can give us information about what that reside in what area. So that if I'm interested in crude, because all of us are interested in crude, that's a quick way of getting money, then you can look at those states. Of late, Ondo just joined them. You can come to Lagos, you can come to Ondo State, and they decide to take a clue from that. I'm very sure some of us don't even know that Lagos State is part of the oil-producing state. So these are areas where we can look up to. So you can use geospatial information to create jobs. You can use it in rules of law. What are those areas that you have the boundary demarcation? Let's assume that somebody decide to go across the boundary line. Boundary lines are imaginary line. It can decide to, because as a citizen of the country, you don't have any bound. You are free to go to any part of the country and exercise your right. So if you want to go into agriculture, and you know that the type of soil you have on the other side of the states is what you need to do, then nothing stops you from going to that place. So if there's a problem tomorrow, where do you pay your tax? Then the government can decide to use this information to know that, okay, actually you are coming from state A, but you are farming in state B. Then this is the boundary line. So your tax or taxes goes to that state. So that is one of the power of the rule of law, and then leveraging geospatial information to address national priority. Another one is infrastructure and transportation. The formation monitoring of bridges and large structure like Taiwan Dam, like the dam, I've forgotten the name of the dam of yesterday that overflows is banned. Allow. So these are some of the things, because you can't use topographical mapping. You can use topographical mapping to know those that are below the water level, should in case it floods. So some of the success stories from geospatial information in urban areas such as Lagos, we have GNSS topographical, total station, and satellite imaging for cadastral and topographic mapping. They have achieved a lot, and they have used that to effectively plan the settlement in Lagos. The formation monitoring in Niger State, we have used this to monitor the dam, the popular Kanji Dam. Then flood vulnerability, even at Apoye, we have a map in the office that we have used geospatial to solve that barrier. So when you now say that you want to go into generation of data for informed decision making, some of the problems we have, or the barriers, is the high cost of some of our equipment. GNSS system, the UAV, the remote sensing satellite, and so forth. The software, the licenses we pay on the software is not something to laugh about. Then you talk about the popular internet connectivity. The MC will allude to this, that between where I was seated and coming here, internet decided to play its own toll. This, I'm telling you, I was trying to open it, and it was just glittering, dancing around. But it came around, maybe he prayed on the system, and behold, we have this system to give to you now. So what we are saying is that one of the barriers against geospatial data acquisition is the case of internet connectivity. Then another popular area which we all agree that is an area to look at was the issue of capacity development. And somebody stood up yesterday to say, yes, we have trained you. And I was quick to tell him that the Owolabi and Mama Ekagbo that they train, they are out of service. Owolabi left service about 10 years ago. Mama Ekagbo will be taken about by next month. These are the people that were trained early when technology and the issue of information management came into the office. But have we taken pain to train others? That is the big question the Minister for Budget and National Planning will answer today. Because oftentimes when we refer to capacity development, people are always quick to say that we train 5 of you. In the office, we are up to 700, and you only train 5 of us. How do 5 people train 700? Well, they have magic talk, so that when you want to talk about capacity development, there's need to train us. There's need to come back to train us, should in case we have forgotten. There's need for you to train some people who will be used as people that will retrain others. Not that when we train 5 or 6 out of 700, then we go to bed. For 10 years, no attempt to train some other people. So another barrier is the barrier of the policy and institutional barrier. So these are some of the key areas that we still need to do more. Actually, yesterday we are trying to look at the NGDI policy. We are trying to look at the NGDI policy. So who owns what? Who are the custodian of the primary fundamental data? And why did you leave your own primary area and decide to go into another person's primary area? These are some of the key issues that we need to look at. Then another one is the issue of funding. I cannot imagine some people telling you that you are buying a particular software for as high as 20,000 US dollar. We brought a new system that is as high as almost 10 million naira. Anywhere. But if you tell people or you go before the budget office and tell them that you want to buy a system, all they want to know is that maybe you are buying a 2 million naira system, even less. So when you tell them your system costs this much, they look at you and see, are you bringing the system from heaven? But sincerely, when you compare these two systems, when you are downloading imagery, you will know that the other one is just a mere toy compared to the others. When you buy a real system, when you are working on this and you are downloading imagery, you see at which rate it resolves. And not that when you use it, you go to you leave your office in Gariki, go to Wuse, spend 4 hours, you come back, it has not resolved your imagery. But I want to believe that there are some of us who are very close to the authority, who are in charge, so that by the time we present budget and we now say that we are buying this much of system and it's costing this much, they will understand with us. So these are some of the barriers we have when you want to say you want to go into management of information, most especially when you are talking about geospatial. So obstacles to all this performance of geospatial investment, you need to talk about capacity development. You need to talk about data, which talks about connectivity, NSDI. So geospatial data infrastructure, you need to talk about the policy. You need to talk about partnership. What is it that you have? What is it that you have invested upon that you need to give to me? Then communication is another one. Funding, then infrastructural gap. These are some of the things we will need to close up before we can have a sustainable and very robust geospatial data infrastructure. So when you talk about, since we are in the era of renewed hope agenda, so the renewed hope agenda for NGDI, we want to look at the reconstitution of that committee so that they sit down and look at what we have in Nigeria. Then we look at IGIF. We are still running after NGDI. A lot of people, even though they will tell us that it's a roadmap to comprehend NGDI, we'll see how we can get there. Then another one is the bridging the gap between NGDI and IGIF. So I want to say a big thank you to everybody. In conclusion, investment in infrastructure and geospatial tools. One, fund procurement and maintenance of whatever we have. Maintenance of remote sensing, satellite imagery, GNSS receivers, like those ones that we established about 15 years ago. Even when we tried to give it back to the manufacturers, they told us that they don't understand the technology again. So what they are telling us in essence is that, Surveyor General, you have to keep all those ones in your archive, or you donate it to your school and find a way of generating new funds to really do that. You are welcome, sir. You are welcome, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, we want to say a big thank you for joining this gathering. So there's need for us to replace all the so-called equipment that we have in the geospatial. Then investment in geospatial infrastructure to provide access to technology is one area I want us to look at. The internet is one, the software and the hardware. I've tried to give a comparison between two types of software, hardware now. The computer procure for 2 million naira, and the other computer you procure for as high as 10 million naira, and you want to believe that they will do the same job. It's like buying a B2 and buying almighty Mrs. car. So you don't expect the speed to be the same. So then we have to strengthen the connectivity. Real-time monitoring, this is another very important area. Like when we want to prosecute the insurgents we are talking about now, I don't know whether we have been able to look at real-time imagery. There's a way you can subscribe to real-time imagery and you can use it to monitor. And of late, we now have drone that can be in the sky for 8 hours. So sometimes when we talk about insurgents and we talk about their direction and we don't know the direction, I think it's high time we start using geospatial information management in this area. So human capacity development is very key. So we need to strengthen partnership to support innovation and increase funding for geospatial projects. I want to say a big thank you. This is where we draw the curtain on this topic. Thank you, sir.